Now, being a caregiver is a rewarding experience, but it can also take its toll emotionally. Many mothers struggle to find peace and balance in their new role. Dr. Dee Marco founded Mother Lab to research social and cultural practices of caregiving and to provide support for mothers. It looks into the traditional roles of mothers, but also into the non-official caregivers in society, like academics and teachers who give of themselves emotionally. She joins me now. Dr. Marco, very good evening to you. Thank you so much for joining us. What a refreshing and exciting project. What gaps did you identify in motherhood which led you to Mother Lab?
Good evening, Paul, and thanks for having me. Well, there are a number of gaps. Really, Mother Lab started entirely based on my own experience as a mother. And as I had more children, I realized with each one how really incredibly complex the terrain of mothering is. In fact, I use the term mothering and not motherhood in the kind of conceptualization of the project, because I think of it really as a doing word. I was really with my second pregnancy and the birth of my first daughter, which was during COVID, during lockdown in 2020, that I realized there's a huge gap in how we are thinking about or casting a light on mothers in general, and on the kind of unseen labor that happens not only in domestic spaces but in intimate spaces. Because we were all in lockdown, there was this kind of light cast on work that was happening inside the home, and suddenly not only mothers but caregivers, people who were keeping homes going, while there were people in meetings with shorts on and shirts on top, there were these people kind of behind the scenes keeping things going. Often these were mothers, often these were women in homes. And not only for their children, but also for partners, for intimate partners, for not intimate partners. But there was a lot happening in the home space, as you'll remember. And so that's really where the idea came from for me.
So with your personal experience, the research that you've conducted, and the many layers, the varying layers that you speak of, the many roles of motherhood, or mothering, the verb as you refer to it, in what trends did you find, and how did those then lead you to some of the solutions and the supports that you could offer?
Well, the one is firstly, and I'll speak a little bit about House of Complaints, which was the project that started last year. But the first kind of finding, I suppose I could say, was that mothers or these women who take care, they generally don't complain. So the very notion of the complaint is something, they simply don't do it. There's a kind of pride in being able to take care of the people in your home, in being able to raise your children in a particular way. This is across class groupings in this country. And of course, we know that there are various kind of historical legacies based on class and race. But across the board, there's this pride in being a mother. So that was the one thing, was that it was really, really hard to get anyone to say anything negative about mothering, about that work. And the second thing, which is related, is that a lot of mothering is simply unseen, unquantified labor. So we think of it as hard work. We look back on the years. This is a kind of common phrase that I'm hearing at the moment, again, with a 12-week-old, where people often say, much to my partner's dismay, this too shall pass. But this is very much a kind of anchor of mothering, right? This idea that you push through, it's a hard thing, you stay strong, and then one day you look back on these little miracles, that have not only come to life, but have really come into their own, and you take that on as a great source of pride. And so the work, I would say, is very much ongoing work. it's called Mother Lab because I'm thinking very much of not only mothering as a verb, but it's an ongoing kind of work, right? It's work that is not only unseen, but it's work it's mundane work. It's repetitive work, right? Nobody's ticking off your KPAs and saying, cool, you deserve a bonus at the end of this. You're doing the same thing over and over and over again, and at some point you hope that it pays off. And so when it comes to what are the solutions, there are no solutions. It's just ongoing work. And in trying to visibilize that work and kind of really engaging with the not so pretty, the stuff that we're not, the things that we're not martyring mothers for or themselves. I am very invested in the showing of that. And so I'm thinking of Mother Lab very much as an ongoing space where women can come, but also where my own experiences of mothering bring about room for others to speak about their anything, their complaints, their joys, their fantasies, and perhaps this is a good time to speak about House of Complaints, which started last year, where I invited women to come and bring their mothering complaints. And like I said in the beginning, many women really, really struggle to find a way to say anything that was complex about their mothering roles.
What were some of these complaints? I mean, it's quite interesting. You can't tell me that there are complaints that you struggle to get out of the mothers and not tell me at least one.
Well, gosh, there were quite a few, but by far one of the funniest ones was an older mother who has 2 sons, one who is finishing high school and one who's about halfway through his first degree. I think at Wits, and she came and so I invited everyone into the space and they'd come, and it was really beautiful because the conversations, they were not only conversations with me, there were often conversations that happened between mothers who were having vastly different experiences. So, for example, someone with much older children, adult children, speaking with someone who had just had a baby. And instead of saying, it'll all be fine, it'll all work out, this older mom would really listen. So it became a kind of a community space, even just for that day. And because people work, mothers work, it often happened on the weekend. And on one of these Saturdays, there was a mother who came and she was speaking about her 2 sons. And she didn't write down her complaint in a kind of narrative form in the way that I invited people to do, even though it's a very open space. So she took pieces of color paper and she wrote down these little one-liners, and I'll share some of them with you. The one was that the ducks at Zoo Lake are boring. She said not enough intimacy in her married life while she had small children. She put down something like, do they need to eat every night? So that was just one mother who had come through. Another mom, also an older mom, actually refused to write a complaint, and she gave me a piece of embroidery. And I can't actually share on air what it says, but it's basically just a very profound, it's hard. And other moms with younger children would get into the kind of nitty-gritty of their day-to-day lives. So someone would come in and say, I've had a really hard day. My 8-year-old or my 4-year-old is not listening in this way. I'm really struggling to be the kind of mother that I want to be, for example. So women came in with so many different stories, and it was really, really beautiful, what they brought to that day.
Yeah.
And there was no other instruction other than come with your complaint and allow your complaint to be whatever it is on that day.
Very, very inspirational. Thank you so much for your time, Dr. Dee Marco, founder of Mother Lab, really creating a safe space essentially for motherhood, or mothering as she refers to.